Domo, welcome everybody. Today, to celebrate getting over 800 people, somehow, I had planned to just read cringe shit that I wrote in 2012 on Wattpad. So yeah, kick back, relax, and I'll just ramble about the shit that I wrote. It's like I picked out 3 things that I had written over the years. This first one being the oldest, the one I'd written in 2012. And pretty much going up to the last thing I wrote on Wattpad. So from oldest to new, we're going from oldest to newest. They're all long, so I'm not gonna read them in their entirety. So basically, I'm just gonna read a few chapters from each one, and then you guys can vote on which one I read until I die from cringe. So yeah, Domo, Airy Scared of Girls, thanks again for the boost on the Discords. Domo Aloha Gator, yes, there will be cringe, so enjoy that. Domo Cosmic Welcome. And yeah, as Borkwell said, cringe. Domo Forever Flame, welcome. Yeah, I could go ahead and read the synopsis. Oh god. Yeah, so like I said, wrote this all the way back in 2012. And basically, this was one of those things where my tiny, tiny brain at the time was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write this grand sci-fi epic. And I even wrote down notes in little notebooks. And the cover art was actually from a late friend of mine. Yeah, it's like, this is my best read book. This one has the most views out of all the ones I have on Wattpad. It was even nominated for an award or something. Yeah, I did go all in on my synopsis. All right, I'll start by reading that since you're all so interested in that. All right. In the year 2112, 100 years after the meteor crash and 17 years after World War III, there exists a nationality of sorts known as furries. Their appearances range from simple ear and tails attachments to horrifying beastly mutations. But that's not important. What is important is the relationship between our main characters as they travel towards their destination and face many hardships along the way that may or may not relate to this minority. Many controversial views will be addressed as expected with everyday life, so I suggest you proceed with caution. Guns will be shot, lies will be told, kisses will be exchanged, and the human mind will be pushed beyond the edge of insanity. This is not your average story. Why? Because you have me as the narrator. You can trust me. Yeah, if only those reads translated into followers, I wish. Yeah, it's like horrifying, beastly mutations. Oh, there's all kinds. It's basically from the Kaneko memes where it's just a person with just like ears and tail all the way to like full on furry anthropomorphic shit. But it goes on that whole entire sliding scale. Yeah, so this cover art, I edited it, but the art itself was drawn by a late friend of mine. Sadly she passed away from leukemia, but I love this art to pieces. I even have like a physical printed out version of it that she made for me. So even though the story is cringe, it has a very special near and dear ness to my heart, especially it's like the first thing I ever sat down and worked on for my entire life. To which I would do many more things. Yeah, it's like I just drop a casual reference to a third world war. It's like, why not? There's your exposition. Take a shot if it never comes up again. Oh, it comes up multiple times. Like, there is actually a chapter that takes place during it, but yeah. So yeah, one of the things that Wattpad used to let you do, I don't even know if they let you do anymore, is they let you play songs in the background. I don't know if I should because copyright, but so you know, of course I choose a song from Monster because I'm a fucking weeb. I don't know, for some reason there was like a glitch on the site back at the time where it wouldn't tell you when you published a story, and that was important when you were entering their story contests. So that's why that's on there. Yeah, it's like, and one at the end is just a straight dragon. Did you read this, Forever Flame? Because yeah, there is actually a dragon in the story. It's like, hey, did you actually read it? Because you actually guessed correctly. You want a monkey tail? Yeah, you can get a monkey tail. And yeah, one of the things that bugged me the most, you could tell I'm stalling as much as I can before I actually start reading because this is so fucking cringe. Um, is when people can leave comments on your Wattpad story, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's great, but you have typos," and they wouldn't tell you what the typos were. So I would tell them like, "Just tell me where they are." It was such a huge pet peeve of mine that I just put it at the beginning of the thing to just tell me. And someone actually did. Um, Someone became like my unofficial editor after a while, where they would comment after every chapter to help me rewrite it and improve on it. So, like, there's still gonna be a ton of typos though. All right, all right. Time to stop stalling. Was that your embarrassed laugh? Maybe. All right. Once upon a hill, not too far from a lively town filled with equally lively people, there was a house. No ordinary house, mind you, but a mansion of sorts, at a towering 3 stories tall. Though there was a lovely house with a blossoming rose garden of assorted colors out front, there seemed to be no sense of life present in this home. Rather, an ominous aura took its place, and despite the charming scenery outside, the interior was not as pleasant, with broken glass littered on the floor and curtains torn down from which they hung, allowing sunlight to naturally seep in, which currently was the only light illuminating the place at the moment. Yeah, I think those are called betas now. I think you're right. It's like, I got a beta before betas were a thing. As it turned out, though, this mansion was far from abandoned. Deeper in, located within the kitchen, a man sat in one of the chairs, the palms of his hands shielding his eyes from the light. A sharp intake of breath could be heard before he removed a hand, revealing a flushed face that appeared to be grief stricken. The hint of copper brown in his eye could be seen as it blinked away a tear that dared to fall, and he breathed out again, but this time not as harshly. His other hand motioned to brush back a lock of crimson hair that extended past his shoulders, considerably too long for some males. The man shifted his gaze over to the pile of bags that rested in the corner of the kitchen. Why can't I read? That looked away as he began to stand up, approaching the window that was the source of the radiance in the room. Domo Game Soda's welcome, yeah. This is Wattpad, so it's like fan fiction, but I wrote my OCs. Yeah, this is my original fiction, do not steal. Exactly. So enjoy my cringe. I need to get out of here, he murmured as he slowly, carefully pressed the tips of his fingers lightly against the glass, as if it would shatter at the slightest touch. This house is dead. But what is a journey without a destination? Now, here's the thing. You'll see here there's these command prompts here. So the idea that I wrote for this was that this was sort of a broadcast that it's like on a computer, like a program. It's like I was very inspired by Dot Hack. Don't judge me. Look on the bright side, you wrote it. Yeah, exactly. I did it. It's like, have I mentioned this dude is very pretty? Yeah. I have like art for these guys and everything. I can show that later. So basically, I forget if it was every chapter, or every part. We'll find out later. But I had like a poem for the theme for each thing. Let us sing a requiem for the living, whom pass through their lives as though they are already dead. Life is nothing more than a journey, yet only we are the ones that can make it so. But what is a journey without a destination? That, my friends, is something you must discover yourself. The fox runs quickly, sly and cautious, and when it dies, it will have its own song to sing. Yeah, Max Judgment. Keck? Yes, very keck. All right. Greetings. Today's date is November 8th, 2112. Oh, Doma Miss Seneca, thank you for the resub. Welcome. Just in time to watch me cringe at shit I wrote in 2012. Give you a shout out. How was your stream? How was your faster than lights? And yeah, thanks again for the 13 months. Arigato. Yeah, story time. Yeah, bring Cat the judge. This is the first of hopefully many broadcasts I plan on airing, so I do apologize if I sound unprofessional at some point. To be honest, I'm a little nervous, and I'm sort of glad that no one can see how much I'm sweating right now. I guess I already gave out too much information, huh? Don't worry, I won't do that again. I'll be as secretive as any other third-person narrator. Who am I? That's not important. Why am I doing this? That's also not important. What is important is that you believe everything I say, for I will not lie to you. There will be people that I mention that will bring their own hidden secrets and motives, and I will do my best to bring these all to light. How will I be able to do that? That's classified, which sadly means you'll have to speculate it on your own. Now let us begin. You faster than light went well, you blew up the ship. Awesome. Alright. Yeah, I will not lie to you, they lie as naturally as they breathe. Oh yeah, it's like, you know, like Lemony Snicket and like the Lemony the Lemony narrator? I was very heavily inspired by that. Yeah, using for instead of, because, or since sounds fancy. Yeah. You could tell I was trying to be fucking fancy. Help. Help. Alright. Chapter 1. Chermeyer, a town that lies beneath the surface. There is a town right between New York and New Jersey that has no real name that's located in an area no one's really sure about. Many refer to it as Chermeyer, but the inhabitants know that it's the name of the park, so they only call the town Chermeyer when necessary. This is not the setting of our story, but rather the starting point of a long adventure into a world filled with those that are human, yet not at the same time. What may seem to you as a simple story can be pulled apart into layers. As the deeper you go, the more complex you'll find the world and its creatures to be. It's called fucking Newark. It's like Newark blew up after World War III. There you go. There's your lore. Yeah, not to be confused with the lemon fig. Yeah. It would have a lot more feet in it. Yeah. Alright. Take this scenario, for example. That will be $300, please, said the receptionist behind the counter, smiling down at the young girl who was probably around 6 or 7 years old. The girl gladly handed her the money that she most likely received from a parent and received a large vanilla ice cream cone in exchange. She ran off with it in her hands, but since it was so big she could hardly see where she was going, and immediately wound up crashing right into someone, causing it to fall and splatter all over the metal sidewalk. What a waste, really. The big lemon is a little typecasted. They will probably have armpits in them. I guess you have a point there. She started to cry, like any child would, but the man she bumped into kneeled down and smiled almost twice as kindly as the receptionist. He wasn't a man with an ordinary appearance, unlike the girl in front of him, which brings me back to my first point. At first, all you can see is his abnormal fox-like ears and tail, but look at him now. He just handed her a generous amount of cash, more than triple what she paid for her comb. This will have major repercussions several hundred chapters later. Yeah, there would be a lot of references. Oh god, I gotta... I think you've always been the fox people. Oh yeah, I always have. Always has been! Since like 2007. Suspiciously rich furry strike again. Oh yeah. It didn't get on me, but you should be more careful next time, he told her, then sat up after she had taken the donation. I was more of a cat girl man myself. Fair enough. The little girl rubbed her watery eyes and nodded slowly, then turned around to head back to the store. There was no telling whether or not it wouldn't happen again, but at least the problem had been resolved. As for the man, he simply waved her off despite the fact that she hadn't even thanked him for the money. That makes him a kind man, correct? Not caring if the person was grateful for his deed? Well, you be the judge. All right, on to the actual story. I'm sure you're a bit annoyed with the short little story that seemed to have no significance at all whatsoever, so I apologize. I did warn you I'm new to this. Um, it's like, get used to this. I gave the narrator way too much sass. I think he explodes in like the next chapter. Returning back to the man I mentioned earlier, he resumed on walking down the street with a backpack on his shoulders, one you usually see hitchhikers or explorers carry around. But despite its size, he was able to stroll along without any signs of struggling. Either he was very strong, which I doubt seeing how lithe his body was, or there wasn't much in there. That raises the question of why he was carrying such a thing in the first place. Oh well, I'm not very good at speculating. I'm too old for that. Yeah, it's like there is no story. I lied. Was more of a Lamio kind of guy. Yeah, it's like who doesn't like a nice snake lady? It's like I guess you also read Monster Musume. Anyway, while he was moving along, minding his own business, he suddenly came to a halt when a door to a bar flew right open, a blond man crossing his path as he dashed out into an alleyway nearby. Three men followed right after him, quickly looking around left and right as if they were on the hunt for something, or rather someone. One man, who was literally as tough as a bull, nose ring and all, spotted our lovely protagonist and gave him a harsh, intimidating stare. You didn't get it from Monster Musume? Fair enough. Like, back when I was a thing, I don't mind a sassy narrator, but I do like them to get into arguments. Fair enough. As you could likely expect, I'm personally buying Storage Dragons. Well, that's cool. You seen a blonde punk around here? He asked quite aggressively, causing the other two thugs to turn their own attention over to the man, now tripling the intensity of the stare. Not sure what to do, the man simply pointed in the opposite direction where the blonde man had gone, and just like that, they had dashed past him and were gone in an instant. He let out a huge sigh of relief after that, and I would have too if I had just gotten out of that situation. Who knew it was that easy to chase off some goons? Oi, thanks for saving me back there, the blonde man said, emerging from the behind alleyway. Oh god, I have to remember his fucking voice. Our hero smiled and shrugged it off. It's no problem. I just felt it was the right thing to do. I wouldn't want to be chased by a group like that either. The blonde strolled over to him and examined him closely, noting the rich, high-quality clothes he wore. Red vest, matching pants, white dress shirts, and even a cravat. Gee, doesn't that sound familiar? Along with the ruby brooch that was clamped onto the center of his chest. Really, the only thing about him that prevented him from being a walking fashion statement was the black shoes and brown eyes. Not to mention he had to be taller by about 2 or 3 inches. He seemed unimpressed. Name's Shinta, by the way, he said, extending his hand out. That was extended, extending his hand out that was clenched in a fist. Brown eyes make him less than a fashion statement? I don't know. I don't know why I said that. Ask 2012 me. Name shit, by the way. Nah, Shinta. Shinta. I can't even read my own handwriting. I wrote this 12 years ago. It caused the other to flinch. Well, technically 13, but a little more than 12. Whatever. It caused the other to flinch, but once he realized it was harmless, he slowly raised his hand in the same manner to lightly bump them together. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Kyo Rosil, but you can just call me Kyo, he replied, laughing a bit nervously. Yes, please be lenient on baby me. Yo, huh? You don't look Japanese. Neither do you. He did have a point. Blonde hair and blue eyes did not make a Japanese person. Well, I don't know. My last name's Noharu, so who knows? What the hell's was your excuse? Shinta asked while poking his chest accusingly. Oh, that! I was born in Kyoto during the war. Shinta stared at him, dumbfounded for a moment. Was that some kind of pun? No, why do you ask? Kyo inquired innocently, resulting in the blonde shaking his head with a hand over his face. Doesn't anime, yeah. Always remember, 50 Shades of Grey is one of the highest novels of all time. This shit ain't nothing. Yeah, exactly. No mercy, roast him in the pile of molten sludge. No! Never mind. So, where are you heading to? Looks like you're going to someplace far with all that shit. Las Vegas. I should be going now if I don't want to miss the bus. He walked around Shinta, was about to leave, but the blonde stepped in front of him once more, waving his finger in disapproval. Are you kidding me? A rich bloke like you will get eaten alive. Not to mention you'll have to change buses to get to know where you really want to go. Before that, you'll have to find yourself in God knows where, fend yourself from what goes bump in the night. Kyo's ears drooped as the statement sunk in. I didn't know that, he murmured with his head low. Yeah, 50 Shades of Roselle. Help. This shit ain't nothing, man. I'm cutting straight to the bricks. Shinta grinned and held out his hand as he said, well, you're in luck. I'm willing to offer you a full bodyguard service for only $5 million. Oh, please. Beloved reader, you and I both know this is a complete scam. Even if the world isn't that safe, it's not like he needs a bodyguard at that price. An old man such as myself is in just as much danger daily, and I do just fine. Only a foot would. Wait, why are his eyes lit up like that? Really? Only 5 million? I truly appreciate your generosity and would gladly hire you for the job, he replied, and bowed gracefully like a prince to a knight. Only in this case, it was a peasant. Remind me again, did these people start talking because they ran into each other in a doorway? Yeah, it's like Shinta ran out of a bar, ducked into an alleyway, and when the goons chasing him came out, they were like, which way did they go? And then he came out after they ran off. So yeah, they're just talking in the middle of the street. What now? Shinta was a bit taken back by the statement, his eyes wide in shock, but his lips curled into a mischievous smile and he quickly recovered. I mean, yeah, you made a smart choice there, bud. I'd like to disagree, says the narrator. Now let's hit the road. I don't have all day, you know. What about you? You don't have any luggage. Shinta waved his hand and dismissed the comment. I'm covered. Hotels have everything you could ever need, all nicely packed in one bathroom. Oh, I see. Well, you don't have to worry about the rooms. No. I've got that covered too. Think of it as part of the service. Any more questions? Kyo shook his head, and with that, Shinta went over to the racks outside the bar towards one of the hover cycles, patting the seat affectionately before slipping his helmet on. It's like, we're learning about inflation just before writing this. Yeah, I basically made it so that change no longer exists and everything goes by dollars. It's like, in this timeline, dollars are what yen is now. Ah, yes, I should explain what those are to the older readers out there that aren't caught up with the times. Relax, I'm sometimes out of the loop as well, so it's nothing to feel embarrassed about. Think of them as motorcycles that can float a few inches off the ground, except the rear has a large engine for the electric power generator. Despite that, it's long enough to hold 2 people just fine. Maybe even 3 if you try to squeeze in a smaller person. Foreshadowing. They also have slots on the side for helmets, which are specialized to be one-size-fits-all attachment. That's not important. To prevent... Yes, we got hover cycles, no coins, only hover cycles. Non-green currency got vaporized in the Great Trump of 2057. Close enough. To prevent some confusion, I'll make sure to explain any newer technology that happens to appear later on. I did say you can trust me. You don't seem to have an extra helmet, Kyo stated as he observed the other hover cycles that seemed poor and lackluster in comparison to Shinta's. I wonder how often he polishes. Shinta shrugged and swiped one of the helmets resting on another hover cycle. tossing it to Kyo, because, stealing. He was barely able to catch it, fumbling with it for a second until it was firmly in his grasp, then stared at it reluctantly. That bastard was stupid enough to leave it out in the open. He deserves to have it stolen, Shinta said, having noticed that Kyo was hesitating to put it on. Kyo sighed, not seeing any room to argue, and thus placed it on without any problems. He then sat down behind Shinta and wrapped his arms around his torso, leaning in close against his black leather jacket. I didn't really describe Shinta's attire, did I? Well, he is boring, unlike our oh-so-wonderful Kyo, but I guess I could be brief for those dying to know. Well, it's really just sneakers, a black wife beater, and jeans that look like they lost a fight with a lawnmower. Oh, look what you made me do. It's because you were expecting me to go on and on about each character's oh-so-unique wardrobe in explicit detail that they've already driven away. All right, we'll continue this later. And that's just chapter 1. That's the end of chapter 1. I'm pretty sure the next chapter is the one where he has a fucking meltdown. You don't really like this narrator? Don't worry about it. I don't even remember what video was here. Don't worry about it. We're just moving on. We're moving on to chapter 2. Alright. I apologize for getting a bit riled up earlier. I've located our hero, so let's resume where we left off, shall we? Chapter 2. The wolf stalks in daylight. The two drove down the highway with the sun straight ahead, painting the sky in various shades of gold and violet. Some cars passed by in a flash, while others were terribly sluggish, which obviously aggravated Shinta since he would go around them with ease. Kyo, on the other hand, was busy contemplating over where his eyes should be. It was completely unnerving to see the speeding vehicles and metal road this close without a roof to protect him, especially since he could feel each curve it made so fluidly, so he decided to just focus on the blonde's back. Yeah, he is stalking them. It's like, mild spoilers, but yes! It's like, yes, actually. Eventually, once the sun had faded and the sun had faded and the night began to rise, Shinta made a sudden turn into what appeared to be a miniature town right in the center of the highway. It had a hotel, 3 diners, 2 gas stations, and even a convenience store. It looked like a good place to make a pit stop, and apparently Shinta thought the same thing, having parked his hover cycle right in front of the hotel. While he stepped out, Kyo looked up at the hotel and realized they weren't moving any further today, tilting his head slightly. It's like, 2 for 2, let's go! It's like, how many things can you guess happen in this story just by accident? He is the peeper, an omniscient observer who peeps on pretty dudes across the multiverse. Yes and no. He do be peeping. I thought you were taking me there today, he stated, more than perplexed and angry about the situation. Sorry, man. My shift is over for the day after the sun goes down. I don't see any reason to hurry anyway, Shinta explained, and he left it at that. He's like, I remember I gave Shinta a gangster voice, and I don't remember how to give him his gangster voice, so bear with me. For some reason, it devolves into a southern drawl because I can't act. Putting their helmets away, they began to make their way inside the hotel. It was only 5 stories tall, but it still withheld the sense of elegance with its golden walls, flourished garden, and red carpeted entrance. Surprisingly, as amazing as it was, neither one of them was fazed by its beauty at all. Although I could somewhat see why it wasn't that remarkable to someone as sophisticated looking as Kyo. I bet he's been to 100 5-star hotels in his lifetime. Some people have all the luck. Once inside, Kyo stood near the entrance and waited patiently for Shinta to reserve their rooms for the night, observing the 2 statues of angels that seemed to greet the guests at the door. Then, mysteriously, his eyes became dull and distant, and his body went limp as if he were an emotionless doll, merely hanging on threads to support himself, standing on unstable legs. However, despite his calm demeanor, his breathing was rampant, and his hands twitched violently, almost as if they were trying to desperately grasp at something that wasn't even there. And then, just like that, he was immediately snapped out of it when he heard Shinta call him, and followed him down the hall where he was heading. How strange. I wonder what's going inside that head of his to make him act so unusual that briefly. Oh well, it probably wasn't anything important. Wank, wank. 2012 me was not subtle. And then, just like that, he was immediately snapped out of it when he heard Shinta call him, and followed him down the hall where he was heading. How strange. I wonder what's going on in that mind of his to make him act so unusual that briefly. Oh well, it... Oh wait, I read that paragraph already. They wound up inside the bar area of the hotel, the lights somewhat dimmed as if to conceal the face of the other guests that lounged around on well-furnished couches. It was a good thing, too, since it seemed like some couples were getting awfully intimate while enjoying their drinks. Kyo averted his gaze when he noticed and quickly sat down in one of the stools next to Shinta, fidgeting nervously under the intense atmosphere. So, how is it you were able to afford such a nice hotel as the... How... How is it you were able to afford such a nice hotel as this? Kyo asked, hoping some light conversation would take his mind off the people behind him, even if one of them was moaning a bit louder than they should be. Like, they're just smashed. Or maybe not. I forgot. I forgot. I labeled this as mature, but there's no explicit things in here. Don't worry. Shitta smirked confidently and pulled out something from his pocket, which revealed to be a gold-plated card with the words "Babe's Hotel" engraved on it in neat cursive handwriting. I'm considered a VIP thanks to this baby, he explained, waving around with pride. I've got a friend whose dad is the president of the company. There's as many Babes Hotel as there are Bergaman princes, so we'll have a place to stay the whole way there. Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa, what's this? I don't know if I'm gonna live. Okay. She had to drown this glass in here for Whipgood, which tastes sweet as sugar because it was actually just served in a shotgun. Yeah. I'm glad to hear it. Kyo smiled and gazed at the card curiously before Shinta put it away. The bartender arriving shortly afterward. They made their orders, but unfortunately, I couldn't make out what it was exactly since the same woman from before decided to let out yet another loud moan. Judging by what the bartender presented them a moment later, it was generally a glass of wine for Kyo and a beer for Shinta. Typical. So why are you going through all this trouble just for me? Kyo asked before he sipped his wine, apparently not fully convinced that Shinta was doing this out of merely out of kindness. Shinta looked from his beer to Kyo, shrugging his shoulders in response. Mainly two reasons. First one's obvious. You did something for me, so I'm paying you back. I'm a fair guy that believes in that do unto others rule and all that stuff. Second, he paused, his eyes cast down as if he were in deep thought. Feels like I've met you somewhere before. Kyo shook his head, unable to recall a time before today when they could have met. Go to a second location to him and then ask for his motivation. Yeah. The blonde then gazed down at his drink, almost like he was disappointed. Right. There's no way that's possible, huh? Never mind. Before Kyo could say anything to that, for the third time, a moan rang throughout the room, sending a shiver down his spine as he covered up his ears to ignore it. Shinta's spirits were lifted when he saw how beet red Kyo's face was from embarrassment, and a big grin was now plastered on the blonde's face. What's the matter? Don't you know they've got those kinds of services here? Okay, so I did make this a horror place. I forgot. Shinta teased, patting him lightly on the shoulder. I know how to pick the good ones, so all you've got to do is ask. I don't really approve of those things, Kyo replied, covering his ears. I mean, shouldn't you only do that with someone you love? Shinta burst out laughing in response, causing Kyo to turn an even darker shade of red. What do you think this is, Puritan times? Please, people need sex like they need water. They won't get arrested for it as long as they're old enough, and even then, you could still get away with whatever, as long as you keep quiet about it. We all have our preferences and shit, so yeah, no one cares. As for me, I'm fine with anything that's part human and has a hole to fuck. Help. Help. Why did I write this? Why did I write this? What was 2012 me thinking? Help. Yeah, you came at the worst time, Timeworm Gecko. You came at the worst time. But welcome. It's like, yeah, I'm reading a story I wrote in 2012. Help me. Booty is more important than food, more important than air, more important than drinking water. It's like, then you and Shinta would get along just fine. He chugged his whole beer down and let out a content sigh, and then proceeded to stand up with his eyes focused on a group of ladies not too far away. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna settle my own basic needs. You could do whatever you like. Hyo simply nodded and received the hotel card to their room before he left. He wasn't seen again until the next morning. Jump cut? Domo person hydration. Yes, I can read. It's just embarrassing. Help. Shit isn't really coming across as the most moral individual though. That was my idea, is that they were two opposites. It's like one's the rich goody two shoes boy, and the other one's the poor punk. Can you read? How? I see words on screen and then I read them. But yes, welcome. How are you doing? I hope you're having a nice Saturday. Do tooth cavities count? I guess. I've heard worse. Oh god, is this your first time here? You're going to get the wrong idea. How can you read? Yeah, I'll show you. Watch and learn. Morning, Lucy. You think you can handle driving a lot today? Shinta said to his hover cycle, petting the seat fondly before getting in. Do people still name their inanimate objects these days? Oh, hi, kitty. Oh, God. And then the cat just was like, enough of this shit. I want pets. Yeah, who needs morals when this is a Wattpad OC fic? Yeah, 2012 me was just like, fuck it. Yeah, synchronized cat pet things, yippee! Every follow gets free cat pets and cat bug. Anyway. Hyo adjusted his helmet and got it right after him, raising his head up to look at the front of the vehicle. Lucy? Yeah, she's the only babe out there I can totally respect. Ain't that right, Lulu? The hovercycle began to purr gently the moment it was turned on, and Shinta seemed to praise that with a loving pat on the handle. Somehow that was considered a legit reply. Exactly. Yes, kitty? Mwah, kitty wants kisses. Mwah, mwah. Let me guess, Taffy just snuck up on you and pounced on your lap? Yes! That's exactly what happened. You're right. Yeah, there is a Lulu in the story, just not me. Yeah, I'm the motorcycle in this story. Help. Oh, Domo Moki, welcome. Thank you for the raid. Oh god, hello. Domo Jade Bun Bun, welcome. Oh god. Thank you so much for the raid. Let me give you a shout out. Oh god. Let me make sure I'm spelling your name right. And then, of course, Taffy wants to flop on my lap because he's like that. But yes, Domo Jade Bun Bun, welcome. And thank you, Moki, Minami, for the raid. Arigato. How was your stream? How was Genshin? I hope you had a good time. Welcome. Thank you. Yeah, you brought peeps, Jade? Thank you. Arigato. Yes, welcome, raiders. I am Blade Loon, Kitsune Hunter / Animal Tamer, And to celebrate getting 800 followers, I am reading. I'm reading cringe fanfic, stories that I wrote on Wattpad. OC fanfiction stuff. Do not steal. Oh whoa! I forgot how bad it was. Help me. So kick back, relax, enjoy me reading my cringe. Baby me was very embarrassing. I also have Kitty on lap, who is here. Hello. I think someone tried to pet him. Hold on. I'm turning into a mess. There you go. Whoever was trying to pet him, here you go. Yeah, oh god, I have to figure out. Yeah, it's a certain type of entertaining, and that it's painful. But yeah, I hope your stream was good, Moki. Thanks again. You tried painting Aladdin. Oh, now I'm blue. Abadi abadai. Is he okay? So is he dating a motorcycle? No, he's just weird. And shit is one of those dude bros that like names his vehicles and is like treats him like a whammon. It would be a real dick move to move one of the redeems that affect your voice right now. Not right now, please. I'm already dying. Blue suity. Well, thank you. All right. Back to my cringe. Oddly enough, the roads were barren at this time of day, but there could have been a lot of reasons for that. Although there was a major car crash that's preventing
anyone from getting through, and now everyone's going to be late for work, but I'm probably just... Yeah, and now everyone's going to be late for work, but I'm probably just being pessimistic. Still, it didn't seem like Shinta had any reason to complain as he drove down the highway at an exceedingly fast speed. However, Shinta wasn't the only speed demon on the road, and another hovercycle was making its way behind him. He changed lanes so the guy behind could go on ahead, but strangely, the other person did the same, and he was approaching them even faster now. Oh no, not the Taffy Boys, no! Rip. Won't you ever date me? Because like I said, I am dating my motorcycle. Rip. Of course, Little Gator does it. Perfection. Alright, it's like, yeah, so Taffy's gonna read instead in my place. At least for the next, like, few minutes. Oh god, I can't do the voices with the voice mod on. You're just gonna have to deal. We're being followed, Shinta shouted over the roaring vehicle, which made Kyo turn his body to look over at the assailant, only to cling back on tightly after getting a quick glance at him. This appeared to have caused the rider to make a change in plans, and they shifted over to the right so that the hovercycles were next to each other. A gun in hand pointed directly at the two. With this view, it was clear that the mysterious rider was in a tuxedo? Yes, I can read. Hello, Toxic Dino. Welcome. You have told you the voice, they'll just be the sword. Yeah. This guy's got the right questions. Yeah, I could read all the times. Like, yeah, it's like Toxic and Person Hydration. You two, seem to have the right priorities. Yeah, I can only read sometimes. I can't read. Help. No, wait, he was missing the tie, but there was an oval silver locket in its place. I wonder whose wedding he plans to go to after killing them. He'd definitely stand out with blood stains all over his suit. Oh, right, back to the action. Yo, I need you to hurry. I need you to open up the slot on the left, Shinta ordered, hitting the brakes so they could fall back fast enough to dodge the first bullet shot. And hurry! Kyo wasted no time and leaned over to open the slot, which contained 2 laser bullet rifles inside. I think the name explains itself, so I won't bother describing other than the fact that it's rechargeable. He hesitated for a moment, realizing what he was being asked to do, but as soon as he heard the attacker slowing down to catch up, he picked one up with shaky hands and pointed it back at him. Yeah, laser bullets. Pew pew! It was nearly impossible for him to keep it steady, but as soon as he saw the gun up again, he let instincts take over and closed his eyes as he pulled the trigger. It missed the assailant. Thank you for the follow! Arigato! Welcome. Domo. It missed the assailant, but What it did hit was the engine of his hovercycle, creating static and strange crackling noises as it started to malfunction. Thank you, as to you as well, Domo. Thank you, welcome, arigato. The attacker had no choice but to retreat in this condition, and thus they veered down the nearest exit with a trail of smoke left behind. Intermission. Those who would catch a laser bolt between their teeth will be disappointed. Shortly after nearly getting killed, the two decide to stop at Burger McPrince to calm down and collect their thoughts. Really, whoever came up with the idea to combine a clown and a prince as a mascot must have been one crazy genius. Though I must say they have a terrible fashion sense. Who wears a brown and purple striped suit these days? They sat in silence for a while, Hyo staring out the window with a cup of coffee at hand, while Shinta was typing away on his black rectangular cell phone. A few feet away from their table, the news was going on about some car crash that occurred earlier due to a speeding hovercycle. But that's not important. Gee, it's like there was a connection, but the narrator's choosing not to acknowledge it because he's sassy. Why did I make him so sassy? I regret making him so sassy. Nice reading skills. Well, thank you. I do read visual novels as well, so I have experience. In fact, on Tuesday, I'll be reading an RPG Maker game that is basically a visual novel. So, yeah. Yeah, sassy narrator. Yes, thank you. I appreciate everyone watching and hanging out. I love the people. Yeah, younger Stanley Parable narrator. Yeah, it's like that, Lemony Snicket, all that shit. I don't know what I was thinking. Help. Alright, Kitty, you're being a silly boy. Let's kiss you goodbye. Goodbye. It's like we'll keep the blue in the voice for a couple more minutes. Blow my nose. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Eventually, Shinta pressed the button to cause a hologram to appear, then turned it around so it was facing Hyo. Take a look at this. I got a good look at that bastard's license plate before he ran off, so I was able to find his license online. Turns out he's some guy named Wolfgang. Kinda weird, don't you think? Taffy be like, I demand the belly scratches, mother! Yeah. He do love his belly scratches. It was fairly odd. His picture showed he was a man with black, unkempt hair, along with wolf-like ears and a 5 o'clock shadow. Presumably he had a tail as well, but I must have missed it from being so distracted with that tuxedo. I'm deeply sorry. Wait, don't get the wrong idea. He's a wolf man, not a werewolf. What do you think this is? A fantasy about vampires and werewolves? You expect too much from me. I think I'm going to cry. Take a shot if he's a wolf furry. I'm assuming Taffy's the cat. Yes, Taffy is my cat. He is my baby boy, and the voice the voice mod right now is his voice. He's speaking through me right now. That is strange, Gale commented, examining the license closely before his eyes widened in shock. He's a Bartholomew? Very cool. Thank you. He is a cool boy. His spirit has taken her. Our Bartholomew? What's that? Shinta inquired, rotating it back around to look at it again. That's my wife's maiden name. The blonde, quirked an eyebrow upon hearing Mr. Sex with Only Someone You Love was actually married. Was I the only one that noticed the diamond ring on his finger? Huh? You have a wife? Hugh nodded slowly, rubbing his thumb against the edge of the coffee cup. Her name is Sabrina. We've been together for 2 years, but lately things haven't been working out between us. I suggested we get a divorce, but we had a terrible fight because of it. After that, she just disappeared. Yeah, we are drinking syrup out of our shot glasses. Amen. Seriously? Shinta scowled as he leaned back and crossed his arms. Then that guy probably thinks you're responsible for her disappearing or some shit like that. Now he's out for revenge. So why the hell are you heading to Las Vegas? Her parents lived there, so I was hoping that maybe she just went to stay there for a little while. I didn't want to call to make sure since her parents could easily lie for her, which means I have to head there to face her directly. Shinta sighed and turned off the hologram, then slipped his cell phone back into his pocket. Whoa, man. That's some pretty fucked up shit you got yourself into. I don't like getting into people's personal lives, but you think you're gonna be alright? Hyo gave him a small smile and looked down at his coffee, his crimson hair falling over his eyes as if to hide their dull appearance. Of course, I'll be fine. Just fine. I'm completely fine. Ah, yes, that's the same there's that same expression we saw yesterday. And he's clenching that cup so tightly he might even break it. Now would be a perfect time to change point of views, yes? Oh, please don't be upset. I know you've grown oh so fond of me in such a short period of time, but these things are necessary if you wish to fully understand the characters. I promise they'll be short, and you'll have me back before you know it. Everything after the sentence will be in Hyo's perspective until I say otherwise. I promise I won't get upset. Yeah, so this is the part where they basically have it so that through sci-fi magic. I swear it's explained later, sort of, but not really. But yes, I think I explained it. I might have. I don't remember. This was 2012. We're hacking his brain, okay? We're going in. We're going in. We're doing it live. Oh God, and I have the tappy voice on while I'm gonna read this. Help! All right, I'll turn it off.
It's like, yeah, for this next part, if I try and read it with the taffy voice, it's gonna be way too goofy. It's like, please, you could turn it back on at for the next part. All right, everything's good here. Liar, are you going to die? He should have killed you, you know. Your blood would have painted the road so beautifully. Why didn't you die? Stop it! I shouted, looking all around me as the place became engulfed in a black and crimson darkness. They were here, laughing at me, but despite how the colors danced about, I still saw nothing. I know I can't see you, but I know you're there, hiding, lurking within the shadows just to mock me. Why won't you show yourself now? We thought you don't like us around when someone's there, but if you insist. I heard a noise below me and glanced down, the liquid in the cup swirling and swirling until it became a black hole. Then, out of that hole, a dark, shadowy hand reached out and grasped my neck, pulling me in towards the hole. I gasped and struggled, but no matter how much I tried, I couldn't get a hold of that hand to make it stop. Oh God, I'm falling in. No, it's there and it's eating me and make it stop. It hurts. I can't feel my flesh. I can't even scream. I'm gonna die. Help me. Yo! Warning. An error has occurred. System is shut down. ... Broadcast will now resume. Press enter to begin. That could be good. Excuse me. Domo Heavy Aether, welcome. Yes, I am blue. Abadi Abadai. Yeah, so if that didn't make it obvious, he's fucking crazy. So yeah, that's the first 2 chapters of that. So now I'm just gonna switch to a different story, because, oh God. I don't know if we'll even have time to get to the 3rd one. This is the one that I wrote next after this one. This one came a little later. I forget exactly when I wrote it. Let's say. Okay, so this was later. Also 2012, but it's like the first one was okay, so I had my years off. The first one was 2011. This one's 2012. For some reason, I thought this one was 2013. All right, rest well, Forever Flame. Can't take the cringe. Well, then I wanted to get through a couple of different chapters of different stuff so you guys can vote for which one I read next. Though this is taking, though it's like, we'll see how far we get. So yeah, same universe as Rosiel. So the furries that were mentioned in the first chapter are in here as well. In fact, the setting for this story, if you guys were there for my for the stream where I showed the games I've made, if you haven't seen that, I have it on YouTube. But I've made games. I've made some RPG video games. And one of them, Butterfly's Keep, is the same setting as Rose's X Guns. They're connected. Yeah, it's already been an hour. I'm like, fuck! Alright, so let me read the synopsis. As the world begins to fall apart, a man recollects on why he could never find happiness. However, he is not alone, and he wouldn't be constantly reminded of this if his cyborg hadn't brought home a strange girl one day. Now they are the jury that will determine the fate of those that were guided to their home to confess their crimes. Some had committed the most horrific acts known to man, while others simply made one mistake that ruined their lives. Will they be given salvation or death by execution? Yeah, so let's see if I improved over a year. Because I think I wrote this a few months after I finished this one, but Rosiel took me a long time. Rosiel was like 50 chapters. So that took me like the whole year. That second paragraph is nonsense. This was 2012. This was 2012. Alright. Let's fucking go. Yeah, I even say here, this is branched off of, but not entirely connected to Rosiel. Therefore, it's recommended but not required that you read that as well. And then I put the stupid disclaimer thing on there. Don't worry about it! New phone, new story. Why was 2012 me like this? The world was burning when the last miserable man on Earth committed suicide. This might sound impossible, because there are plenty of people out there that are depressed for one reason or another. But it is the truth. This is not the story of how this came to be, or whatever happened to those people, but about the two people that witnessed their final moments, their final thoughts, and their final regrets. It all began at a single home that was located near a cliff, just miles north of a metropolis that was built in the year 2372, well over 100 years prior. It was known as the City of the North Star because it shined so brightly in the night that anyone far away could look at it and know which direction they were facing. You would think that anyone living on the lone house you would think that anyone living in the lone house would have. Why did I write that sentence like that? You would think that anyone living in the lone house would have trouble sleeping because of it, but they had taken care of that with steel windows that open and close with the single press of a button. Yeah, I was a cringer. Cringe has been in my blood since I was born. It's like, you merely adapted to the cringe. I was born in it, molded by it. It's like, I'm fine with lurkers. If people want to just lurk or do whatever, I'm good with that. Don't worry. As for the exterior of the home, it was a simple, white, one-story house made of wood. This might sound baffling, but if you examined it carefully, you would tell that whoever built it had been skillful and very precise. Additionally, there was a rich, thick forest a few meters away that trailed down to the bottom of the cliff until it reached a small road, so they had plenty of resources. The question was, who could have possibly accomplished such a thing without relying on technology to do the work for them? No, it's fine. If you want to lurk, that's okay. Don't worry. I love lurkers. Go do your laundry or wash your dishes. While I cringe. The answer was easy to find if you looked hard enough. That is, if you don't mistake him for a giant woodland creature, because technically, in a way, he was. He had the short, curved horns of an American bison, and his long, dark brown hair flowed on top of his hunchback so naturally that it could have been mistaken for fur. Again, we're back to the furries. At 6 feet and 7 inches with a highly masculine body structure, anyone that didn't gaze into his piercing black eyes would still be intimidated by him. Yeah, believe it or not, this is our protagonist to the very end. If you were expecting someone more attractive, then just wait a bit before storming off in disappointment. I swear this narrator is less sassy than my first one. I swear. I swear. I swear. I swear I dialed back the sass on this one. The day before the tragedy would begin, the beastly man had returned to his home after wandering in the woods for his own reasons, strolling past the tiny white flowers that had made themselves comfortable on his lawn without stepping on any of them. He walked up the porch and entered without having to lock the door, the aroma of chestnut coffee and vanilla cream greeting him once he was inside his lightly furnished home. The other person that was a resident stood by the wooden tea table in the far right corner. His expression was dull as an unmoving stone. He was a young, androgynous man with curly auburn hair tied in a ponytail and matching eyes, but there was more to him than that. As he picked up the silver tray and moved it to the black coffee table, there was a small, unnatural creak that could be heard with every step he took. The truth of the matter was that he was a cyborg. The lower half of his body entirely constructed of metal. That meant he had no genitalia and thus could no longer be considered male. Okay, 2012 me. That made the relationship between the two only somewhat less bizarre. Welcome home, master, the cyborg said coldly, sitting down on the chocolate-covered couch as if he was waiting for something. Will chamomile tea be fine this evening? Lulu's been cringy since the day she was born. Got popping out of her mama like some kettle corn. The doctor caught her head and she started cringing because she came out RPing and she came out cheesing. Hell yeah. Minor correction though. I was so cringe, they had the C-section me. Good evening, King Sky Fire Runner. How are you doing? I hope you're having a lovely Saturday. Enjoying the cringe that I wrote in 2012 while I cry. His master snorted, then joined him on the couch, to which the cyborg responded by shifting closer so that their bodies touched. When his master suddenly grabbed his chin to force him to look up, he didn't make eye contact, more fascinated with the amber carpet. His master's eyebrows furrowed in annoyance for a split second, but then his face relaxed and they were pointed in the opposite direction. Nothing much, just chilling and eating pumpkin pizza? Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, I was a fetal hikikomori. I was late. I was late to my own birth. I was like, 5 more minutes. You know I don't care about the tea, his master finally replied in a gentle voice. Maria, do you love me? Yes, Maria answered almost immediately. Why? Because I would be dead if you hadn't saved me. My life is yours, for now, until the end of the world itself. His master snarled, and furious, slapped him hard across the face. That is appreciation, not love. How many times must I tell you that is not an appropriate answer? That is the only answer I can provide you. I am sorry. Why did 2012 me think it was okay to write this? Help. Help. The hit left a swelling pink mark on Maria's cheek, but he seemed completely unfazed. Then again, this wasn't the first time he had lashed out in anger, and they both knew it most likely wasn't going to be the last. This is what their life was brought down to, day after day, never changing like the peach wallpaper that Maria hated. He tried to tear it down once, just out of spite, but his master had caught him and it was quickly fixed. He was not beaten, but as punishment, his legs were taken away for a week. Now he avoids looking at it as much as possible. I expect dinner by 6 as usual, his master said firmly before storming out of the living room, into the kitchen that leads to the hallway where his bedroom was. Maria sighed, and after sitting there silently for an hour, went to go fulfill his expectations. Meanwhile, his master had spent his time in bed sulking, staring into space while clutching a pillow. He was fully aware of what he had done and how it secretly affected Maria, and he felt terrible about it. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do about it because he no longer had any control over himself. He could apologize, but that would be acknowledging his mistake, which would be implying that he was promising to never do it again. So really, there was no point in trying. At least that's what he always told himself. So wait, so was he meant to be the bad guy, or did 2012 Lulu have a certain type of taste in men? I don't know what. It's like, I think he was meant to be the bad guy. I'm 95% sure I wrote him to deliberately be an asshole. I think I was ahead of the 50 Shades of Grey curve. Was like, what? When was that written? I might have beaten her to the punch. Oh yeah, I can stop being blue now. I've been blue for a while. All right, back to normal. Dinner came and passed without them exchanging a word, not even to mention how the meat was too cold. They watched television in the living room for a while, washed up, and walked their separate rooms the same way. It was a process that flowed naturally, and as tempted as they were to break it, neither of them ever did. Whether it was due to habit or personal insecurities was uncertain. Blue, blue. And that was how their last day of everlasting peace was spent. Normal and nothing out of the ordinary. However, they would soon find everything changing so quickly that they will think of this day as occurring long, long ago. I know this because I was there, and I analyzed each and every moment up until the very end. Yes, you would think this is my story, but I hate drawing attention to myself. So I plan on referring to myself in third person most of the time. Would it be fun, Mother, to guess which person in this report is your child? I'm kidding. You'll know right away as soon as I describe myself. You always were observant. Along with this report, I am submitting copies of a journal I found within the residence. It belongs to the master, who I believe deserves to be the main focus more than anyone. With each individual section will be an excerpt from it, so when you pile them all together in order, you'll notice they alternate. To prevent any confusion, I have titled these past, while the parts of my report are labeled present. Yeah, so it's like there's it's two stories in one. I'm not a mother though. It's like you're a mother now, Cosmic. The narrator's your child. How will you take responsibility? Where's my child support? I'm kidding. All right. So now I've introduced the protagonist, we can move on to when the beginning of the story was set into motion. It all started with the little girl. Yeah, so this is an introduction to the past. It's like, yeah, I'm the father. It's like I don't know. So yeah, the introduction to the past is from the bad guy's perspective. Let's put it that way. The big bison man. All right. I'm mentally prepping myself for this. Why did I write this? What was 2012 me thinking? Help. Okay. My name is Bernard R. Abaddon. The R doesn't stand for anything. That was a terrible joke my father made when my mother couldn't decide on a proper middle name. His sense of humor was always tasteless, and no, I'm not explaining the joke. The joke is his initials. In any case, this is my first entry in the journal I myself invented. I don't trust the standard voice-to-text machines that the market tries to resell as something vintage and exotic. That's totally a real name, not trying at all. Okay. The reason why I decided to do such a thing is simply because I have no one else to vent my feelings to. There's not a single neighborhood or development within a short distance from my home. And the people that I do come across wouldn't understand. Maybe they will find this someday. Maybe they won't. In all honesty, I don't really care. I suppose it is appropriate to use this as if I was speaking to someone either way, so don't be surprised if I act direct about my opinions. I shall start from the beginning. My childhood is nothing worth mentioning, because it was just like anyone else's growing up at that time. I am part of a dying breed that has been theorized to become extinct in time due to recessive genetics. You won't find a monstrous non-human like me as often as you would long ago. And part of my childhood was spent coping with the fact that everyone thinks I'm different. As you may have guessed, my parents passed on when I was at a young age. Prejudice can do that to people when the minority in question begins to dwindle and disperse. Then again, the only people that do care merely see me as part of a percentage of suffering orphans. They've never seen my face, yet they assume they know exactly what I went through and try to sympathize with me. I will never appreciate those people and their fake kindness. Still, I grew up perfectly fine. I wasn't miserable or depressed, but I didn't need to be when I had better things to do. After I graduated from a well known university, I wanted to pursue a career in robotics, but I was quickly rejected on several occasions. However, rather than let that get to me, I went with a greater alternative. I chose a place outside the city where I would not be disturbed and built myself a home. It was a tiring process that took a very long time. Nevertheless, it was certainly worth it to do it myself instead of just buying one that had who knows how many problems. After settling in and arranging everything to my liking, I finally got to work on my new business. It may not seem like it, but I'm very good with my hands. I started out with robotic maids that were no larger than a thumb, whose purpose was to get at hard to reach places without moving objects around. They were the daintiest little creatures, with soda cap shaped heads, silver stick bodies, and beady little eyes that took up most of their head. This was a Chibi Robo reference. They sold off better than expected. Many people giving me wondrous feedback on how pleased with how useful it was. Thumb-sized robot maids? No, it's Chibi Robo! If you look up Chibi Robo, it's pretty close match. I got a snot ball stuck in my throat, of course. Like, my body is fighting against me reading this. Help. It turned out they could lift up to 100 times their weight and could accomplish so many other tasks that the customer threw out their large, bulky androids for more. Did I hear thumb-sized robot mates? Yes! I was so inspired, I went on to invent more incredible devices, and to this day, I have never had to pay a single bill or have a defective robot returned to me. Ah, but enough boasting. Someone once asked me if I was lonely living up on the cliff. I will admit that I do crave a little human interaction every once in a while, which is why I go out to purchase my necessities rather than order them online. I don't have to walk too far, and I do fairly enjoy the exercise. When it comes to nature, if you're a city child like me, it's something you either come to appreciate or recoil with disgust. Obviously, I'm the former. Don't feel too bad if you're the latter. I understand. Without any control or boundaries set to it, it could be seen as something horribly foreign. The animals aren't behind grass, the flowers aren't in clean, decorative pots, and the trees grow wildly without anyone around to trim them to perfection. It might be due to my animalistic instincts, but I call it home. Man is literally a bison. Not to be confused with M. Bison. Besides, I don't need machines moving back and forth to get work done. All I need is my workshop in my bedroom, where all my materials, copper, wires, iron, silver, bolts, skeletons, programmers, data chips, etc., are neatly organized. People seem to be truly fond of my products because of the homely yet surreal feeling of owning a handmade item. Those gears can twist and churn all they want in those factories, but without the touch of a human hand, they won't be warm. When I think about it, maybe I should have majored in the arts instead. I could have been a moderately decent songwriter or scriptwriter if I tried. Then again, no one cares about the face of someone working in the background, but rather the faces that present themselves on stage. I take it back. It wouldn't have been worth it. Anyway, now that my introduction is out of the way, I should consider what exactly I should go on about in my future entries. Bison Bee Hunk. The B stands for barbecue. That's what I should have named him. I did say that it was to express my inner feelings. You wanna When thought about on a deeper scale, it's clear that I was being somewhat vague. While I could talk about my day-to-day experiences, there's nothing particularly interesting that occurs on a regular basis, and I want to try and use this frequently. I'd prefer not to have this become an autobiography either, so I'm not going to spend my time going deep into my past. Oh, there is one more thing. It's something I try my best to forget, but for the life of me, I can't seem to let it go. Although, it's a long, painful story that could go on for several entries, mainly because I would never have the strength to tell it all in one shot. I might be able to put it all behind me if I at least attempt it. Alright, that it's settled. I should explain. This may sound strange, but all of my life, I can never say I felt any emotions. I've been angry, depressed, apathetic, and proud, but that's about it. People always try to pursue happiness with purchasing objects that claim to accomplish this, yet I can't grasp the concept of why. What is happiness? Is it when you smile? In that case, everyone is happy when they're taking a picture, which makes no sense if it's for something like school. Is it when you laugh? If so, then why does something like a bitter or sarcastic exist? Sarcastic laugh. Typos. I did not have a beta for this one. Is it when you feel warm and fuzzy inside? Then you should be happy when you're ill with a high fever, yet it's quite the opposite. Is it when you fall in love and feel loved? Maybe, because as a person with no lovers, friends, or family members to speak of, I can't say I know this from experience. Well, that's half the truth. It would be the full truth if that one thing hadn't been ripped out of my beating heart, stomped it into the dirt, and left it out in the freezing cold to wither away. The funniest part about it is that it was the closest thing I ever felt to happiness. It was close. So close that I could nearly graze my fingertips against it and absorb all of its warmth. However, I never did, and that the day I lost it forever was the day I would never try to reach out to anything like that again. What was that thing you ask? It's a bit complicated to answer. I had been avoiding using pronouns up until this point because, while it does revolve around a single person, there were numerous people involved that led to the incident. Some names I had encountered, others I had never seen and would never know the names of. It might not make much sense now, but it will eventually. This is about a woman who I first met at the birth of spring and last saw at the death of autumn. Yeah, that's the first two chapters of this shit. Help. Enough of that one. Yeah, so moving on again, because I can't anymore. We will go back though, because I went through those two It's like the first one took me like an hour, and that one took like a fraction of that. Take a break to clear the phlegm. Yeah, give me a second. You might hear my blowing noises. 1 second. Okay, I think I got something. Yeah, phlegm ASMR. All right, that made me a little dizzy. I think I popped my ears. Help. You know your writing's bad when your body's fighting against you doing it. All right. Now this one I have no excuse because I wrote this in 2019. So this one's much more recent. This one was like, well, the other ones were like 12 years ago, 12, 13 years. This one was more like 5 years ago. Yeah, it's trying to save me. Yeah, it's like this one, yeah. The cover for this one I drew myself, which is why it looks like poo. You can see the tree here. I think I did an okay job with the tree. I used one of those fancy paintbrush things. All right, the fucking synopsis. Help. Would you sacrifice what's precious to you in exchange for power? In the seemingly ordinary city of Gradmid, there is a mysterious tree that is said to grant magical abilities to those who present an offering. However, the offering must be something of value to the person. Jesus Christ, how did I not see that typo? Must be something of value to the person, and the more valuable the offering is, the more powerful the ability will be. Bleh. Since the power granted is based off the offering, it's advised that you choose your offering wisely. If you're unsure of what to do, feel free to ask previous visitors about their experiences. They'll be more than happy to share their tales of love, loss, life, despair, and most importantly, acceptance. Yeah, so for this one's different in that the different chapters would have different narrators. And the title would basically tell you who's narrating. I sacrificed the delicious cake I baked. What power do I get? Well, how much did you love that cake? How important was that cake to you, man? It's like if you didn't care about it too much, you just get the power to squirt frosting out of your eyes. It has to be a physical object. The first two chapters are from the same perspective, so it'll be a good start. I didn't bother with the fucking disclaimer this time. I was just like, fuck it, we ballin'. We ball. Within the heart of the city known as Gradmid, through the thick forest and up the winding mountain path, was a fortress that contained the most powerful and sacred treasure the world must never know about. I sacrificed my left eye. That's my good eye too. It's like the eye one would actually work, but you can't. I forget if if. Okay, you know what? I won't spoil it. You could read this cringe yourself. It's on Wattpad. Thank you for the follow, Domo. Welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying my cringe. Arigato. This is a special. Don't get comfortable. It's like Tuesday, I go back to my RPG Maker comfort zone. You're funny. Thank you. Arigato, Papa Booey. Papa Booey. Domo, yes, welcome. All right. Time to focus. It's like this one is probably the least cringe. I say it being the most recent. At first, it may not seem like much with its iron gate and stone walls towering a mere 20 feet high, yet that was not meant to be the main line of defense. That duty was held by its guardians, or rather, at this particular moment, the single guardian who had served longer than anyone could imagine. Yeah, I'm getting recognition. Hell yeah. Like, give me that attention. Let me get them goals. This wise and experienced guardian would be yours truly. Cypress H. Sylvan. Considering I usually appear to be in my late 20s, most people wouldn't be able to guess this. They might notice the silver streak sprouting from a black bed of hair like a bothersome weed. But these days, it would be easy to dismiss it as a fashion choice. Truth be told, it wasn't. And I would more than love to remove what continues to dangle in front of my face as a taunting reminder. But I digress. This day wasn't about me. It was about the people who approached the gate with the intent to enter. This treasure wasn't guarded so no one could steal it. In fact, that was impossible. And anyone could enter to at any time to see it. The average number of visitors fluctuated. anywhere from once a year to a dozen per day. So when I approached to the gate to see who was there, I moved as calmly as I would any other day. I put on a nice little smile to lower any possible signs of hostility and went straight to unlocking the gate. The two visitors, a boy and a man, stood silently as they waited for me to open the gate, as polite people should. However, once the doors had been opened, the young boy sprinted past me and headed directly to the treasure. The older gentleman was kind enough to remain in place while I chased after the boy down the cobble path. The boy was beaming as he clutched the rectangular box in his arms, his sneakers bouncing up the wooden steps to the altar at the end. He slammed the box onto the altar, folded his hands together, and mumbled a quick prayer. A moment passed. The trees swayed with the wind, and the birds chirped amongst each other peacefully. But nothing happened. Nose. Right when I caught up with him, the boy turned around and glared at me, and with a pout and a stomp of his foot, he shouted, "Hey! Why didn't it work?" "What are you trying to sacrifice exactly?" I asked while taking a quick second to regain my breath. Like, what were you trying to sacrifice exactly? The boy grabbed the box from the altar and showed it to me. It was an unsealed action figure, a red humanoid robot to be exact, from a popular children's show. It was a type of show with giant robots defeating monsters, so I could see the appeal for a child his age. The other kids at school said if I give away my action figure, I get cool superpowers, the boy said. I want to shoot laser beams like Big Red. I sighed and adjusted my glasses. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work like that. Seeing the boy lower his head in disappointment, I placed a gentle hand on his shoulder and guided his attention to what would have been the receiver of his sacrifice had he succeeded. There grew a tree larger than any other in the forest, with golden leaves glistening in the sun and an ivory trunk radiating with a pure heavenly glow. This was the mysterious treasure Legdragus. 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 And there was far more to it than meets the eye. Legdragus. In order for the tree to accept your offering, it must be something precious to you, I explained, then glanced at the box. And seeing how you haven't even opened the box yet, I get the feeling you're not very attached. Well, how do I make it precious? The boy asked with naive innocence. I remember when this question went from being amusing to painful, but now there's nothing. Like dry girls, yeah. Sure. I kneeled down to his level and looked into those honey-colored eyes that matched his misshapen hair. Take it home with you, I said. Open the toy and play with it. Show it to your friends. Maybe sleep with it at night if you like. Spend as much time with it as possible. Think about why you're playing with it. Cherish the moments you spend with it. Then, once the thought of losing it scares you, that's when you bring it back as an offering. Do you understand? Yeah, that's the thing. It has, the tree has very simple but very specific rules. The boy nodded. I think so. Thanks, mister. He then ran off to do just that, brushing past a man who had been observing the entire event. I already knew they were separate visitors since they looked nothing alike, and thus I was prepared to return to the gate to invite him in next. I apologize for the wait, I said with a polite bow. Have you brought an offering today? Yes, domo, how do you read that? Nuriakia? Nuriakia? Yes, tree give powers. Welcome, how you doing? Hurrah. It reminds you of SCP. Oh yeah, there's some crazy things that happen from this tree. Yeah, hypothesis canon where a tree secretes a substance which gives people godlike powers. Yeah. What's everyone sacrificing? Yeah, you tell me. What would you sacrifice? It has to be something important to you. And it can't be a living person. Emphasis on the living. I'd sacrifice a tree. And you have to be able to put it on the altar. So, like, you could sacrifice, like, a sapling or a branch. Like, what, 4 new people in one stream? Who knew the reading fun category was this popular? Yeah, I guess so. A small tree. There you go, yeah! Then you get tree powers! If you really love that tree and you were, like, watering it and giving it a fertilizer and stuff, you get tree powers. I dig up my dead grandma. No! And that's how Cosmic got necromancy. Yeah, you'd already choose your eye. Yeah, so you would get, like... You'd be able to see things beyond your scope. Like, you could, like, you'd have, like, a Hawkeye's view in your other eye. Anyway. The neatly dressed businessman ran a hand through his chocolate brown locks and laughed. Yeah, I did. I didn't know they were that serious about the offering being something precious, but I'm glad I went along with it. That's simply how the tree works, I said. Anyway, let's head to the altar. It'd really suck if my powers were... Aloha, Gator, I have bad news for you. Can I choose the power? The tree decides for you. You have no choice. The man walked alongside me towards the altar at a matched pace. From how he was staring at the tree with wide brown eyes, it was obvious he was awestruck by the tree's magnificence. Then again, it would be odd if he wasn't. So is it true that this is a god on Earth, he asked? And that would make you, the minister, I guess? No, I said. And I'm not. I could understand his confusion. My olive green robes were similar to a monk's attire, but it was not for religious purposes. It's merely a tree with magical capabilities. Nothing more, nothing less. You fine with necromancy powers? It's like, I can't see what's in front of me, but damn, can I see what's 3 miles out of the way? That's basically what would happen. It's like you'd see miles ahead in one eye, at the same time you'd see right in front of you. It's like you'd have double vision all the time. You'd have to, like, wear an eye patch. Or is it more original fantasy or more original sense by talking to spirits? Depends. How much did you love your grandpa? It's like, how much did you love that grandpa of yours that you're digging up? I see. That low tone meant he did not like my answer. Well, too bad, kind sir. I'm only giving the facts, and I highly doubt you'll want my opinion to go with it. He was really nice? Yeah, so basically you'd get to talk to spirits, then. Once we were under the small roof where the altar laid, the man rolled up his sleeve and took off the expensive steel watch he was wearing. He gazed at the watch for a brief moment, then placed it down as his offering. Yeah, it is cool. It's like, it makes all that effort worth it. Hey, that loogie finally came out. Thank God, that's been stuck in there for a while. Heavy Aether, that question is about to be answered very shortly. Excellent question. It's like, that question actually gets answered in the next chapter. Because, no, it's no problem. It's good to ask that question. I'm glad people are asking questions. Yeah, you could charge people at the nose to communicate with their relatives. That would be cool. I give the tree my beloved crow friend. Is it alive? It can't be currently living. What do I do now? He asked. You say a prayer, I said. It must contain both your name and your offering, but otherwise can be told however you please. For example, you could keep it simple and say, My name is blank, and I offer blank as a sacrifice. World's only real psychic. I'd be so ripped. Yeah, you would. Does the tree work for individuals with already pre-existing magic? No. Good question. No. You can only do it once. Just once. That's it. I think I'll follow your example. With that, the man closed his eyes, folded his hands together, and said, My name is John Millard, and I offer this watch as a sacrifice. Suddenly, the watch was engulfed by a white light, and the tree's branches rustled violently enough to shake off a batch of leaves, causing them to float down like a snow shower. The watch rose up from the altar, mutated into a pure ball of energy, then began to insert itself into the man's chest. The man hadn't noticed what was going on since his eyes were still closed, and there was no reason to since his body was absorbing this new power like it was a part of him all along. His entire body emanated this white light for no more than a minute, and then finally, the light scattered. What was left was a new man. This time, the man's exterior was the same, yet inside was something extraordinary. So is a tree a non-clemic? Pretty much, yeah. It's like later on in the story, it's like the lore is expanded on. So I was like, yeah, more. Can you reject the gift? You have to speak the prayer in order for it to work. And then once it happens, that's it. It's inside of you forever. You can open your eyes now, I said. Once you tell me the name of your power, you may go home. The man slowly opened his eyes and looked down at his hands. There, on his right wrist, was an engraving left behind by the tree. It says, Time Tracker, he said, then turned to me with a confused expression. What does that mean? You should know the answer. It will naturally come to you. He seemed doubtful of this at first, but once he took the time to think about it, his eyes widened from the realization. It's 12:18 right now, isn't it? I checked my own watch, and true to his word, that was the exact time. That it is. That's it? He asked, beginning to panic now that his powers had been revealed. I thought I was supposed to get something special, like time travel. I thought the same thing when I sacrificed my grandma's mantle clock, I said, feeling some sympathy for the poor man. Sadly, all I got out of it was controlling my age. The man ignored what I said and frantically dug into his pockets, pulling out his phone to place on the altar. Let's start over. I need this phone for my job, so that makes it important enough to count, right? I shook my head. I'm sorry, but you can only perform the ritual once. Yeah, I pretty much have the first chapter explain all the rules. Or most of them. Yeah, it's like, I sacrificed a tree from the branch itself. It's like, but the tree has to be specialty. You don't know nothing about this tree. Yes, Toxic Dino, you have a question? Control your age is sick power, forever young. Oh yeah, it's like that. It's like I have Cypress take full advantage of it. The chronokinesis. Can you still read? I'm trying. Now that I got that snot ball on my throat, I'm reading a little better. How old is the fucking tree? Extremely. Defeated, the man's body drooped as he picked up his phone to put back in his pocket, and in a broken voice he asked, What did I do wrong? It's not about what you did wrong, it's about the offering you chose, I answered honestly. The more sentimental the offering is, the more powerful the ability will be. But that was my late father's watch. Did you get along well with your father? He shot me an angry glance, clearly insulted by the suggestion. Before he could retort, I said, You can't lie to the tree. It can see into every living creature's heart. It knew you cared enough about the watch to hesitate, hence why it accepted the offering, but the weak attachment produced weak results. You understand? Does that tree have a numeric age, or is it age more like an NA kind of situation? I forget how old I made this tree. I'll be honest. Maybe I say somewhere later in the story how old it is, but I forgot. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Person Hydration. He's like, my next stream's Tuesday. I got a Twitter and stuff if you want to see. Is the tree chronologically non-linear? Good question. Not real. It's there. It exists. The man was silent, yet after he had enough time to accept the situation, he ran a hand through his hair again and sighed. All right, if that's how it is, I guess I'll try to make the best of it. Is the tree's lifespan visual more accurately as a line, a circle, or maybe a corkscrew? Yes. That's the spirit, I said. I then pulled out the notebook hidden inside my robes and wrote down the name of the man and his new power. The offering was deliberately omitted. Noticing this, the man quirked a curious eyebrow and asked, "Is that the archive what happened?" "More or less. How professional. It's what I must do." "Is the tree single?" "Yes." It's not part 2, Electric Boogaloo. The man departed not long after, and I was left to my own devices for the remainder of the day. Conveniently, there was also a former just I, f- I don't I forget how to pronounce this word. I thought I did, and then it came back. Does it have dinner plans? No, it doesn't. Where is it located? The tree is located in our in this story's reality. It is firmly. It's like it's both here and there and everywhere. Which is why people kind of assume it's some kind of god because it's omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. Oh, is that a lie? What else is a lie? My story's actually older. Did you write them all last night? They have timestamps on them, Cosmic. Omnibenevolent? Excellent question. That's left up to our interpretation. The man departed not long after, and I was left to my own devices. Yeah. The Chiasitsu inside the fortress, which had been renovated and expanded to contain the necessities for someone to live in. I slid open the wooden doors to enter the place I chose to call home, my socks brushing against the rough tatami floors after I left my sandals by the entrance. Once I settled down, I spent my time doing mundane things like watching shows on a flat screen television, checking my emails on my laptop, and debating whether I should bother to cook or order takeout. I'm sure the man who built this place is weeping in his grave. When evening came, I pulled the futon out from the closet and laid it out on the floor to rest. After I shut off the lights, removed my glasses, and crawled under the covers, I gazed up at the ceiling I could no longer see, the darkness filling up the empty spaces like this hollow home. All that remained were the sounds of lonely crickets. All that remained were the sounds of lonely crickets crying out for a companion, and my own heat contained within soft white fabric. Thus, I fell asleep in solitude once more. Okay, so I did put the stupid complaint thing in the at the. I just put it at the end instead of the beginning. Whatever. Moving on. Next chapter. Does a tree produce oxygen? It's a tree. Don't worry about it. Living up on the mountainside can make you more attuned to nature to an extent, but it does require being open and respectful to its residents. Thank you for the follow, domo arigato. Fortunately, animals are easier to deal with than people and can sometimes serve as better company. That's why I was more than happy to leave out seeds for the birds in the northeast corner of the fortress, nuts for the squirrels in the northwest, and oats for the ducks that visited the pond in the southeast. The northwest corner was where I placed the shed, and next to that little wooden hut for and next to that was a little wooden hut for any pets I decided to keep. Foreshadowing. Got bored, you came back? Well, welcome back. We appreciate having you back. It's like we're on the chapter where we get a pet because I foreshadowed it in the first paragraph. For those curious, my home was in the middle of the western side, so I had a reasonably good view of the area. Speaking of pets, it had been a while since I had one present. The problem was that it wasn't as simple as going to a store and purchasing one. If the animal wasn't comfortable where it was living, it wasn't going to stay for very long, and the tree's natural radiance could be extremely off putting. Still, those who were willing to stay were always pleasant to have around, and I missed that. Perhaps the tree hadn't noticed my loneliness, or it might have done it for its own benefit. But one day I was given the opportunity to have just that. While returning from a shopping trip, I spotted a black dog sitting right next to the gate, almost as if it was waiting for me. The dog was most likely a mutt since it had the short, sleek fur of a Doberman, but the small, round body of a corgi. He's a chonker. It was holding a bone in its mouth, and as I got closer, its small tail wagged faster from excitement. Thank you, I'll be your two boardman. Fair enough. Does your story contain a Palestine Central Normalcy Authority? I have no idea what that means. So probably not. Yep, so it's like this chapter is going to answer Heavy Aether's question of what happens when an animal makes a sacrifice and how it works. Kneeling down to its level, I asked, "Were you planning on going inside?" The dog stared up at me with beady black eyes, threatening to swallow me up with its cuteness. I wasn't sure what it meant, so I slipped the plastic bag I was carrying down to my elbow and unlocked the gate to see how it reacted. It walked inside without hesitation. We made our way to the altar, and once there, the dog gazed up at the tree like it was expecting something. There wasn't much room to guess what needed to be done. Can a ghost offer sacrifice? No, it must be a living person. Every time I think the snot's gone, it comes back. The curse of the snot. We made our way up to... Yeah. I held out my hand and said in a calm, assuring voice, "Give me the bone so I can place it on the altar." I want to sacrifice my snot. Yeah, the whole world sacrifice at a tree. That might be a little too big. Having heard me, the dog turned its attention to me, but it did not obey. It soon became apparent that I was going to have to take it by force. I grabbed the larger end of the bone and began to tug, immediately feeling the dog resist as it pulled back. The dog emitted a low growl as a warning, yet I was not deterred. After a minute of playing tug of war with the canine, its hold on the bone loosened and I was able to pull it free. The sad whine that came from the dog's defeat was heartbreaking, but it was a necessary process. "I'm sorry," I said as I gently stroked its head to console it. That seemed to cheer it up a little, its ear relaxing in response. Now that I had obtained the offering, the next step was to give the dog a name. If the dog was brought here for an intended purpose, it needed a name to match that. I thought about how the offering was a bone and how that could be significant. The first thing that came to mind was death, and when it came to death and dogs, one name in particular stood out to me. I closed my eyes, pressing my palms together, and began to serve as a proxy for a prayer. "Hear me, Legdragus. This dog shall henceforth be named Anubis, so take this bone to have them become your loyal guardian." The tree wasted no time working its magic, and by the time I opened my eyes, the bone was already being absorbed by the dog. The dog was swallowed by the light and rose up into the air, its body morphing into an entirely new creature. It was difficult to predict what the outcome would be at first, but as its limbs stretched and repositioned themselves, it became clear that the body was meant to be somewhat humanoid, because I can't escape furries, guys. I'm sorry, I have a problem. I nearly gasped when the light dissipated, revealing the newly transformed being. A little pupper in a boo. This does not take place in the same universe as the Rosiel universe, if you're wondering. I just have a problem. No, I don't have a suit. No. Heavens, no. I just like the aesthetic! Despite all my years with the tree, I had never seen anything like it. The creature had the head of a canine, yet it was standing on two legs like a person. It was conveniently wearing a hoodie, jeans, and a striped shirt, but these had to be made from his fur since the colors were an exact match. Yeah. Like, that's how I became what I am. There's my lore for you. This was too perfect. It was as if I was looking at the modern version of the Egyptian god himself. Was this based off my own inspiration, or had the tree planned everything all along? Anubis stared down at his claws, furry and sharp, yet shaped like human hands. Just as surprised by his transformation as I was. Said the raspy male voice. I'm not sure what happened. It says were beast on my paw, but... He paused to think over his words carefully. I think I could switch between this and my normal self. Yes, I will hydrate. There we go. Would you like to try, I asked, holding back my eagerness to learn more. It would be rude to rush these things after all. Anubis nodded, then began to tighten his body to concentrate. He soon glowed once again, and almost as if replaying the previous scene in reverse. His limbs retracted as he shrunk back down to his original form. It was so quick I feared I would have missed it if I blinked. After he returned to his former size, he looked up at me with a cheerful sparkle in his eyes and said, See! Cool, right? Indeed, I said, no longer dazed by the spectacle. I recalled the circumstances of the situation. But let's get down to business. Do you understand why you came here? Anubis tilted his head to the side, trying to remember for himself. I think someone called me here, or something? I just know I was called. You were chosen to become a guardian, I explained. The fact that you came means you accepted the position. Does that mean I get to stay? Does that mean I can stay? Yes. Will I get lots of food and tummy rubs if I'm a good boy? Of course. Hooray! The dog exclaimed as he jumped for joy. I couldn't resist chuckling at his cute antics. All right, I'll hydrate again. One more sip. How old would you say you are anyway, I asked. Anubis took his time thinking about his answer again. Clearly needed to adjust to a higher level of intelligence. I remember the first thing I saw was a cold white ground, but it's been all green and fuzzy ever since. So last winter, I said. That would make you about 6 months old. I think so, he said while wagging his happy little tail. And where did you find such a large bone? At the beach. I found it while digging in the sand. Yes, me, the red one. Yes, hello? Red reality? What? Hello? Yes? What, me? Hello? Yes, Cyborg Gecko? I'll hydrate a second. Like, oh no, I got another snot ball. It's like, no, my body's like, no, you are going to have snot and blow your nose this entire time because you're not allowed to have fun. May I make a suggestion for the end of... Yeah, raid suggestion? Sure. It's probably going to be a while before that happens. So hold on to it for now. You can tell me later. Okay. Actually, in fact, what I can do is I can control C it. For later. Okay. The beach? Now that was odd. I was expected to stay in a dumpster or trash can behind a restaurant. If he discovered it in an unusual location, and the bone granted him a humanoid body, then that might mean... I shook away the thought. This was not the time to worry about such things. We were supposed to be celebrating the occasion, so this mystery could be investigated further another day, in another chapter, later on, when you're emotionally invested. Before we could have this chance, we were interrupted by a loud banging coming from the gate. Can't pin highlighted messages. It's all right. I copied it. Don't worry. We're good. She's doing a sneaker-thon. Okay, cool. Yeah, we were interrupted by a loud bang upon the gate. Upon closer inspection, the cause turned out to be the businessman who had stopped by a while back. I think his name was Jim Jones? Something starting with a J. How could I help you? I asked with full composure as I examined the man. His clothes were disorganized, his hair a mess, and his eyes wild and frantic. In other words, he was trouble. Take it back! He shouted. I don't want this power anymore. I can't eat, sleep, or even think without knowing what time it is down to the very millisecond. Check my posture. Why can't you simply switch it off? I asked, trying my best to sound concerned to get him to relax. I tried, but when I think about turning it off, I think about it being on and it keeps going. It sounds like you're overthinking it. I'm sure if you learn to clear your mind. No! He slammed his fist hard against the gates. He slammed his fists hard enough against the gates to make them vibrate. I hated this power from the start. I don't care about the watch anymore. Just take it back. I shook my head. I'm sorry, but you can't. The process is permanent. The man gritted his teeth, and I had hoped he would give up and ask for alternative options. But instead, he pulled out a gun he'd been hiding behind his back. He could barely hold on to it with his trembling hands, which did not help the situation. Don't lie to me, he said, his voice cracking from the anger and desperation blowing out. I'll burn down this whole forest if that's what it takes. What was his power again? This was the guy from the first chapter. Like the guy pointing the gun? The guy pointing the gun from the first chapter. It's like his power is to know what time it is because he made a shitty sacrifice. No, this is the same guy from the first chapter. Oh, are you talking about Cypress, the main character? He can control his age. But only his age. Yeah, it's like no. The guy from the first chapter, that John Millard guy, the NPC, his only power is that he knows what time it is. The main character, yeah, at least he could be punctual. Exactly. Yeah, this NPC that doesn't survive this chapter. And you're about to see why. Right after he said that, a black shadow suddenly emerged behind him, taking both of us by surprise. This enormous mass was at least triple the size of the average man, and had the muscles to destroy 100 in one fell swoop. It wasn't until I noticed the dog ears that I realized who it was. Anubis? I murmured in my astonishment. The man screamed, horrified at the beast in front of him, and started to shoot at it in a panicked frenzy. The beast, unfazed, continued to stare down at the man with blood-red eyes as these bullets bounced off like they were made of rubber. Once the man ran out of ammunition, his shaky, unstable legs collapsed into the ground as he mumbled endless, incoherent apologies to no one in particular. I took advantage of this opportunity to quickly pull out my cell phone and call the police. When you guys are saying his and you're not specifying who, and that it's like the main. Are you saying the main character or the guy with the gun? Because they both have time powers, but they're both different. The incident ended peacefully with the police arriving a few minutes later and taking the man into custody. Yes, the third guy. Thanks! Then the answer is D, none of the above. I checked my posture, but thank you. By then, Anubis had returned to his canine form, and I regretted not having any treats to reward him for his actions. We watched from a safe distance as the policeman guided the man into the police car. It was obvious from the man's empty eyes that he wasn't going to resist anymore. Perhaps now he was finally at peace. No, not the third guy, the other one. No! I wasn't expecting you to have a third form, I said after the police drove away. That bone must have meant a lot to you. It was my favorite bone ever, the dog said in protest, still over his loss. You're gonna have to find me another one to replace it if you want me to stay. Reading is fun. What if you have weekly streams focused on reading fun? How many guys are there? I don't know. It's like, I read visual novels too. So it's like, comment, and subscribe or something. It's like, I'll be doing plenty of reading next week. Because it's like, I gotta finish in Stars and Time, and then there's also New Game Plus of Volcano Princess. So I got quite the stack. Oh yeah, I also got a Discord. Here you go. Oh, I will, I said, then kneeled down to pet his head. Good work today. He grinned in response, and I knew we would get along just fine. As we were about to call it a day, I saw one visitor walk up the road towards us. It was a boy carrying a red action figure, and that alone was enough for me to recall my previous encounter with him. His lips were stiff, and his eyes were downcast as he approached us, signaling his confliction. Hello again, I said. Were you planning on providing an offering today? Well, the boy tightened his grip on his toy. I was gonna, and I was looking forward to it all day, but how many chapters is this? Oh, a lot. I forget how many I wrote. I think I wrote 40. It's all on Wattpad. But the boy scuffed his shoes against the ground, debating on what to do. Yeah, this is the original story, Do Not Steal. You know what I mean. Summoning the courage to make his decision, he looked up at me and said, Well, I am not. Mom and Dad got it for me for my birthday, so I'm thinking giving it away would be bad. Touched by the boy's words, I smiled and said, That's fine. You don't have to force yourself. Play with it as long as you like, and when you're done with it, do with it as you please. The boy nodded, and with a newfound appreciation, he ran back in the direction he came, happily swinging his toy around while making creative noises all the way. Such is the joys of youth. Suddenly, I felt a weight on my foot, and I glanced down to see Anubis sitting on it with an annoyed expression. You didn't give me a choice like that, he said. That was different, I replied. How about we forget about it and get ready for dinner? He immediately perked up at the sound of that, and after he slipped off my foot, he followed me inside what would be his new home. Alright, so I've read 2 chapters of the 3 stories. So, as a bonus, I can keep reading one of these until my throat dies. Which one do you want me to continue with? Do you want the 2011 cringe sci-fi adventure? Do you want whatever the 50 Shades of Grey with furries? Or do you want me to keep reading this? Current story's pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna make a poll. You guys can decide. Yeah, the first one was the cringiest. It was, because it was my oldest one. I'm typing up the thing. Yeah, you guys can have 2 minutes. Domo Mesmer Sky, can I have any information about getting up there? Is not. What do you mean, Mr. Mesmer Sky? Hello, welcome. I don't know what your words mean. I see them. I perceive them. I acknowledge that you have said words, but I do not know what they mean because I can't read. I'm illiterate. Alright, so far it looks tied between Rosiel and Rose's ex-guns. It's like, vote while you can! Is it clear to you when the cruisier is yours? Wait, I can win a cruise? How? Is this one of those sweepstakes? Oh, now it's a 3-way tie. Oh, God. Someone break the tie! Quickly! You have, 40 seconds or something. But yes, how do I get the cuisine, how do I get this Ling cuisine you're talking about, Mesmer Sky? Do I get a carnival cruise with my lean cuisine? Guys, there's a few seconds left. Somebody vote. Oh, thank God someone voted. All right. Like, it's probably pizza dough? Okay. Yeah, we're reading more about the Christmas tree. All right, well, I'll do that then. That's fine by me. This one's the least cringe anyway. All right, so for this next part, you can see this says a Skylar perspective. That's because the perspective changes. Where it's like I said, different chapters have different perspectives, and the title tells you whose perspective it is. So Cypress is the main character. The vast majority of the chapters are from his perspective. That was now lies from 2019 now. What are you talking about, Cosmic? It's always been 2019. Hard to write and just go home. Yeah, writing is hard. True that. Yeah, I'm gaslight gatekeeping here. Yeah, so different character, different perspective. When I was a kid, oh my god, why do I do this? I didn't have a beta reader or anyone proofreading this shit. Help. Durability and resistance to conditions and alkalis. Ezra Sky, do you need help? Do you need help, sir? Hello? Okay. I literally feel like that meme right now, where the guy's just like, okay. Yeah, when I was a kid, I got so angry, I would throw my toys everywhere and have a tantrum. My mom would say, "What's wrong? Use your words, Skylar." After I'd figure out that crying wasn't going to get me what I wanted because I wasn't a baby anymore, I'd tell her what was making me angry, which for a kid was just dumb stuff like being hungry or my shoes being too tight. Then she'd comfort me, get me whatever I wanted, and once I was all good and happy, she'd say, "See, don't you feel better now that you told me?" And I really couldn't say no to that. I guess it's because of parenting like that, I'm a little more open than most teenagers my age. I mean, I still have my secrets, like what I do on the computer behind closed doors, shit posting memes mostly. But if I ever needed someone to talk to, my parents were the first people that came to mind. I came out about I I came out to them about being a lesbian, being bullied at school, and how I felt like I didn't belong in school. I was never going to have any friends. They sat there and listened to my teenage drama, doing what they could to support me and offer my any advice they had. It's not like they were perfect, especially with my dad being completely clueless on the mushy, gritty bits, yet they tried their best because they cared. I know what sounds lame, but I wouldn't give that kind of love up for the world. Yeah, it's like yeah, we can't understand what you're saying, unfortunately. It's like we gotta stick to the topic. No gibberish. When I found out my girlfriend hadn't come out to her parents yet, I didn't know what to say. When I tried to ask her more about it, she admitted she was waiting to turn 18 and leave to avoid it altogether. Meanwhile, I couldn't bear the thought of hiding such a huge secret for another 2 years. Yeah, so I had this character is 16. If that wasn't obvious. I wish I knew what to say like my parents did. Somehow I didn't inherit their great advice giving skills. I didn't know much about her parents, yet she didn't trust them with something this important. I could only assume the worst. You think the whole be honest and tell the truth would work like in the movies, but like, have you seen the statistics for gay teens? Harsh. I don't know, sticking to the topic that is now how we do things around here. Uh, we'll figure it out, Cosmic. We'll figure it out. Even so, I knew I had to do something. I was determined to not let go of the smartest, funniest, most beautiful girl in school who was also gay. And the fact that she actually wanted to date the raven-haired goth-looking chick on top of that, that's a 1 in a million chance probably. It was then I was brainstorming ideas and I heard rumors about the tree that grants wishes. All you have to do is give it something you love and it'll give you powers based on that thing. Pretty sweet if you ask me. I mean, yeah, it's risky. I could wind up with an enlarged head or a freaky power like shooting out my eyeballs. But when I imagine stroking those golden blonde locks and gazing into those ocean blue eyes as she smiles back at me, I knew it'd be worth it. Yeah, statistically, most high school relationships don't last. That's also true. All right, final warning, Mesmer Sky. If you don't stop speaking nonsense, I'm gonna have to make you leave. That's my final warning. With those sappy romantics in mind, I started my hike up the mountain once I figured out where to even find it, which were both easier said than done. Had to be at least a 20-minute walk up the place, and for someone who never exercised outside of gym class, that was practically torture. While the weather was cooling down as it got later in the year, giving me the perfect excuse to wear my favorite black hoodie and matching jeans, they were weighing me down by the time I hit the halfway point. Yes, stick to the topic, please. Yeah, Cosmic, keep an eye on him. Maybe the reason why people give up the goth look isn't because it's a phase, but because it's too much work. Not that I would know. I swear I just like black, okay? Yes, we are reading today. I am reading my cringe web novels. Yes, exactly what Cosmic said. I'm glad I cut my hair short, or it'd be glued to my back by the time I reached the top. But it glued to my back by the time I reached the top drenched in sweat. On the other hand, the hair gel I used to spike up my hair was probably melting, and that wasn't going to be fun to deal with later. Thankfully, I was able to ignore how much of a hot mess I was for a moment as soon as I was greeted by the cutest dog on the planet. The way those tiny paws pattered about while he grinned up at me turned my heart into mush. I could not pet him, you know. Like it would be against the law on dogs. He was more than happy to reciprocate anyway, plopping his tiny butt on the ground while I pet him from head to back. Not really the fluffiest puppy out there, but who cares? It's like I'm more of a Caesar salad kind of girl myself. Not long after, our quality time together was interrupted by a man opening up the gate to see what was going on. He was definitely an odd guy. For one thing, his hair looked like he was wearing a tulip on his head, but someone went and covered one of the petals silver as a joke. I could see the dress shirt and pants poking out of his green robes, but seriously? Who wears socks with sandals? I see we have a guest, he said very matter of factly, then turned his attention to me. Have you brought an offering today? If I did not make it obvious enough, we are seeing Cyprus from a different character's perspective. I nodded before pulling out the object in question from my black purse. It's one of those stress toys that pops out its eyes and ears when you squeeze it. It was basic and a bit creepy, yet the reason why I never got rid of it was why I was here today. Yeah, tomato mozzarella salad. Yeah, it's like the great. I like the birds. You can't see the birds. I got birds on my head. That's what the redeem is. The birds. They're on my head. Once he saw what I bought, he gestured towards the tree behind him and said, "Right this way." The bright golden tree was easily the most stunning thing I'd ever seen, and I swear I'm not exaggerating this time. I couldn't take my eyes off it as I followed the man straight to the altar. I already knew what to do thanks to the rumors, so I was able to place the toy on the altar and set up myself for a prayer without being told to. And hydrating, it's like, yeah, I got hydrations. I do the drinkings. Part of me hoped the guy would be impressed that I prepared. Yeah, when I took a quick peek, he simply stood there with the same blank expression. Boring! Dear tree, I said, my name is Skylar Hart, and I offer this toy in exchange for your help. A familiar warmth began to flow throughout my body, an unknown force gently caressing me as if I was being molded from clay. I knew I was changing, yet I wasn't afraid of this feeling. It reminded me of the nights when my mom would tuck me in and kiss me goodnight, the days when my dad would lift me up and fly me around like an airplane, and the sunset when I shared my first kiss with my girlfriend. Was this love? So there you go. That's how one person experiences the change. Like I don't. I'm just drinking H2O. No beer, no water. By the time it was over, I had no idea how much time had passed. I looked down and saw nothing about me physically had changed. Okay, I lied. There was a tattoo on my right wrist now. That was way better than anything my overactive imagination was afraid of. Seeing this, the man asked, what does it say? Stress relief, I answered. Huh, that was weird. I didn't know what it meant, but as soon as the phrase left my lips, everything I needed to know popped into my mind. That's pretty convenient. If someone squeezes me, they'll immediately calm down. There's this one streamer and his heart firing perfect 21 points. Yeah, it's like probably a sound redeem. It's like, no worries, Cosmic. But it's like, just enjoy the words coming out of my mouth, I guess. Suddenly, a loud, raspy voice behind me said, "Oh, oh, try it at me!" I nearly jumped into surprise and had to turn around to see who it was. Maybe I was still dazed from getting new powers, but the guy looked an awful lot like the dog I was petting a few minutes ago. The offer was pretty tempting, though, so I decided to go along with it. I held my hand out for the dog man, who was practically bouncing with excitement, and he reached out his hands, pause, to hold it. Well, thank you, Cosmic. You found me on Rule 34? Or the other streamer on Rule 34? It's like, people, chat, you gotta stop playing the pronoun game. It's like, if so, where? He gave it a light squeeze, and as a result, the dog man gradually shifted from being hyper and alert to a relaxed state. Everything from his ears to his mouth softening up once he stopped bouncing. I know it wasn't me, but I don't know. It would have been funny. Whoa, that is nice, the dog man said in a much quieter tone. This made the stoic man laugh, and I was quite proud of myself for getting a reaction out of him. After I clarified the spelling of my name with the human dude so he could write everything down, I used my allowance to call a taxi home because screw walking. I was going to put a dent in my date funds, but I'd manage. Speaking of dates, I had to get ready as for mine as soon as I got home. Cleaned my face up, reapplied my mascara and concealer, and grabbed whatever I could eat during dinner so I could save money by not buying food later. The last part made my dad really happy because he loves cooking and hates when there's leftovers. Today there would be none. Since both of my parents were in a good mood, I thought this was the best time to show them my new tattoo and explain how I got it. Their eyes widened from the surprise, then lowered with concern. Are you alright? My mother asked. Yeah, I'm fine, I said. It didn't hurt or anything. This is a permanent thing, my dad said. You understand that, right? I do. My mom looked down and folded her hands, and my dad placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. I was expecting to be mad and or concerned, yet it seemed like they were also afraid. The guilty knot forming in my stomach made it clear I should have talked to them about this beforehand. Typos! My friend that loves anime girls talks to bots are anime girls. Like, okay. The more the merrier? But he better behave! Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah. I'm sorry, I murmured out of instinct, shrinking into my chair. Don't be sorry, my dad said, which caught both me and my mom off guard. You're starting to get old enough to make your own decisions. As long as you understand that what you did can't be undone and you have to live with this choice for the rest of your life, then I can't be mad at you. Your father does have a point, my mom said, and placed a hand over his and gazed up at me with a bit more confidence. It's not like this will change anything about our family. Neither of us has any experience with this, but we both know someone who went through the same process. So if you have if you ever have any issues with it, we'll be there to help you however we can. What are you reading? My cringe? I smiled, holding back the tears so I don't ruin my mascara again. Thanks. Yeah, Minecraft. Yeah. It's like exactly what Cosmic said. They say I got my mom's shape and my dad's colors, yet in this moment I can say I got a whole lot more than that. Again, typos. With the sappy family moment out of the way, I got ready for my date and headed on out. My parents waved me off with a quick reminder about curfews and all that, but I was too busy thinking about other things to pay much attention. Like how Carolyn was going to react when she found out what I did? Honestly, I hadn't thought that far until now. So I was walking down sidewalks and climbing through hedges. I prayed she'd at least appreciate the thought. Give me a belt back. Yeah, well, you're here, so welcome. I'll take random encounters. Like a random viewer appeared. Since Carolyn was keeping everything about us a secret, she felt it was necessary to sneak out of the house for our dates instead of telling her parents. I wouldn't have been offended if she lied and said we were friends, but maybe there was some other reason I didn't know about. Regardless, I played along with the whole thing and waited for her to climb out through the window and down the tree behind her house. Searched up your friend's name and that's how you found. Like, all right, I'll take what I can get. While I was pretending to be a cool ninja by blending into the shadows behind a tree, I could hear plenty of shouting and screaming coming from the ground floor. I could never make out exactly what they're saying, yet I knew it was our parents saying things that happy couples wouldn't normally say to each other. I winced at the sound of glass shattering. It was obvious tonight was a especially bad night. I need to get her out now. I searched for cringe and found this streak. Like, yeah, I know. I know. How'd you find me again? I'm kidding. The big brown eye reveal and got this. Well, I do have big, beautiful golden brown eyes. Once she was down, I could tell from her puffy red eyes that I was right on the money, and I grabbed her hand and dragged her along without another word. I got us down to the end of the block before I could go and let go and hug her, officially starting our date. She was and quick to hug me back, and her big sigh of relief was appealing to my ears. Her body naturally leaned into me, the smell of her apple-scented shampoo greeting me from her long hair brushing against my face. Maybe we should have gotten time powers instead so we could stay like this forever. Ha ha. Yeah, I got golden eyes. I said golden with a little brown in it. Yeah, like apple juice. I don't really like apple juice. After we separated, I was able to get a good look at the rest of her. She also cleaned up for me, but she didn't use makeup to cover her zits like I did. Yet even in a simple pair of jeans and a white t-shirt, she looked great. So, how about we stop at the arcade, I asked, going with the first thing that came to mind. She smiled and nodded her answer, moving over to my side so she could lace our fingers together. Yeah, no juice in the eyes. It didn't make my heart leap up to my throat like it used to when we first started dating, yet that inviting warmth was still there, and I returned the favor without a second thought. Yes, the eyes are to hunt the monsters with. It's like I forgot that with this series, because I wrote broke the chapters into more like one shots. They're pretty long. We'll live. The arcade was a pretty standard place with everything from dance machines to pinball. And even if I didn't get awestruck by the loud noises and flashy lights like I did as a kid, it was a good way to entertain yourself for a bucket of quarters. Carolyn was a total wizard at pinball in particular. While I, while I would have the ball dive right in between the flippers in 5 seconds, she was summoning multiple balls and creating chaos ricocheting all over the place. Usually by the end of the night, she'll have a new high score on at least 2 machines. Did I mention she's amazing? What about eye drops? I have eye drops. Because I had eye surgery and my eyes burn now. Yeah, eye drops are safe. Sadly, tonight refused to be our night because while we were messing around with one of the fighting games, laughing and having a good time like we were supposed to, he appeared. Kevin, I think I'm hot shit because I'm on the football team. She rolled up to the machine and casually leaned against it to catch our attention, smirking all smug like when we bothered to look at him. The oiled up hairdo and sleeveless shirt were not helping his image either. Ugh. How are your eyes holding up while reading? Pretty good. Surprisingly. I do see better now, yes. Yeah, it's like you do not want to put acid in your eyes. No, that is dangerous. What you doing playing a game all by yourself, Carolyn? He asked with all sincerity. Carolyn furrowed her eyebrows, putting a hand on mine as she boldly answered, I'm with Skylar. The way she said my name was so validating, I thought I was being born a second time. Oh my god. He forced out a laugh, ready to spew out his venom. Oops, sorry. Didn't see her for a minute there. I mean, she's always hiding behind your shadow. This is it. You wish you could be behind her, I said in retaliation. What was that? He said, raising his hand up to his ear. I couldn't hear you through your clown makeup. I leaned in closer, staring him down without fear. I said you're a sad, hopeless virgin who can't get over his own inflated ego. Ooh, big words, little girl. Did you learn that from your private lessons with your English teacher? Enough! Enough! Carolyn shouted, then went to grip my wrist, presumably to drag me out of there. However, she froze when the anger that had been building up vanished, causing everything from her face to her shoulders to loosen up as her expression changed from anger to confusion. This was when I realized I'd screwed up. With all the drama and fun we had, I forgot to mention what I had done. In a panic, I grabbed her and ran as fast as I could, not knowing when I had taken the bucket of tickets with us outside. I don't know if this left Kevin with a win or at a loss, but I didn't care. I shouldn't care. I won't care. You go die in a ditch. I didn't stop until I spotted a nearby beach, and it was then that the message my exhausted body was trying to send finally hit my brain, pulling me out of commission as I collapsed into it. As I was panting to revive my poor lungs, I glanced out to see I hadn't let go of the hand of the bewildered girl who sat next to me. I made a weak attempt to break my hold, yet I was met with resistance from the person on the other hand. What the hell was that all about? She asked once she had her chance. With a small cheeky grin, I said, I got superpowers. It would have been bad if Kevin saw. His head would have exploded all over the machine. She giggled. Yeah, there's no way he'd be able to handle learning anything outside of football. What did you see in that asshole anyway? Nothing. He asked me out and I only said yes to see if I actually liked boys or not. That's not fair. Pretty sure he would turn on any girl I've met forever. True, true. Hi, Kitty. Kitty's back. We shared a good laugh from that. Then we spent some time in silence, simply enjoying being next to each other under the starry night sky. At one point, she examined the new tattoo I got, scanning it over carefully like an artifact under a magnifying glass. Yes, Betsy, this is a nice thing. Did you get this from the tree? She asked. Yep, I said. What did you give up for it? I hesitated to answer, but I knew I had to be honest. You remember our first date? She blinked, unsure what the question meant. Yeah, at the arcade. Why? Well, do you remember what you got when we turned in our tickets? Her eyes widened, the image of the stress toy flashing in my mind. You kept that? I thought we agreed our prizes were a joke. I know, I said, averting my gaze as my cheeks heated up from the embarrassment. But it was the first gift you ever gave me. I was so happy. The answer is yes, the tree is all of those things. D, all of the above. It knows. You can't lie to it. When I was ready to look back, I saw her doing the same thing, but her blush was at least 10 times more endearing. I was happy too, she said. So I didn't give her to mine either. And Kitty once kisses. Mwah, mwah. Okay. Yeah, imagine if it was powered by AI. Alright, you have to leave, Mr. Mezersky. Cosmic, you still there? But yeah. Where was I? Yeah, I didn't give rid of mine either. Realizing how terribly funny the situation was, I leaned my head against her shoulder and allowed the biggest sigh possible. We're hopeless, aren't we? I'd say so, she said. I don't know what you see in me. Same. This caused me to spring up and stare at her. Yeah, Cosmic, Mesmersky has to go. This caused me to spring up and stare at her. Thank you, Cosmic. Yeah, this caused me to spring up and stare at her, my mouth agape from shock. How? You're pretty smart and funny, isn't that obvious? I guess, she said with a shrug. But I don't have a million followers like some girls do, and while my grades are good, I'm not in any advanced classes. Also, I don't think being sarcastic counts as being funny. Like, no, I think when you timed him out, it just deleted all the messages. Like, I didn't do nothing. I think it does, I argued, refusing to let her put herself down. And who cares about all that stuff? Instead of being the best at one thing, you're good at a bunch of stuff. Now that takes talent. This time, she was the one Don't worry about it. Yeah, it was just you. You did good job. Yeah, this is why I'm dating you. You get me. Not really, I said honestly, but I want to, and I want to be there for you. That's why I got these powers in the first place. Her body eased closer to me, turning me into her personal furnace to warm herself up as she said in an almost dreamy voice. You didn't have to do that. I was already calm just from being around you. That's more enough for me. I was glad the darkness hid how red my face was at this point. Yeah, as embarrassed as I was overflowing with joy from the bottom of my heart. Even if the worst were to happen to us, I never regret making this decision. Just like I won't regret the first time we spent together and the memories we made. And then we got a little time skip here, I think. Yeah, it would be a class 4 neutral assigned neurointelligence. Yeah, it sounds about right. Because it's like, it has no morality. It just does what it does. It has a purpose and it does it. Yeah, I agree with your decision, Cosmic. It sounds like a TV tropes definition. Are you sure about this? Definitely. I thought this would be the end of my story relating to the tree. It turns out there was one more thing I had to do. One day after finishing a vocabulary test for English that I definitely aced, Carolyn ran up to me while sticking something in her whole. One day after finishing a vocabulary test for English that I definitely aced, Carolyn ran up to me while holding something in her hands. It was a blue ribbon attached to a glittering stick, the prize I'd given her on our first date. I've decided, she said with intense determination I'd never seen before, I'm going to give my offering to the tree as well. The AI classification scale? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Here I am thinking it was like some TV tropes thing. After confirming she was serious about going through with this, I climbed the mountain with her after school all the way to the tree. We were both exhausted by the end, but at least the dog was there to greet us with his cute, tiny self and not as some weird dog man. I with the dog as we observed the ritual take place. It was certainly a magical experience, whether you were part of it or watching from afar. the tree exploding with life and blowing everything around it as it did its work. My kitty's gone now. When the ritual was complete, Carolyn wasted no time testing out her powers, extending her arms out in front of the altar's pillars and concentrating on her target. Then suddenly, 2 red ribbons shot out of her wrists at lightning speed, wrapping themselves around the pillar she aimed at while attached to her. The dog and I stared in complete awe with our jaws almost touching the ground. So yeah, it's like her power is that she shoots ribbons out of her hand. She's like Spider-Man, but velvet flavored. It's called ribbon, she explained. I could shoot them out and use them like a rope. They even detach from the wrist when I want them to. I would appreciate it if they were not left behind, said the boring man with the same old expression. Could you at least pretend to be impressed? Carolyn didn't seem to mind, and she was able to retract the ribbons back to her arms as if they were never there. I couldn't contain my excitement and hopped over to give her a hug. This is amazing, I said. With powers like that, there's no one that can stop you. She pulled back enough for us to look at each other face to face. Smiling, she said, there's no one that can stop us. We're in this together, right? Of course. I didn't need to think twice on that. No matter what life planned on throwing us, be it fighting parents or crazy exes, we were going to work through it together. Oh. And there's like 37 other chapters like that. All right, so yeah, we'll leave it at that there. Thank you all for enjoying my cringe. So yeah, let me find that person that was recommended. Near line art. They mentioned them having some kind of marathon going on. Let's see. Let me make sure they're still streaming. Yeah, they're still going. Okay. I think. Well, I think they're asleep. I don't know if I want to rate someone who's sleeping. Or something. You accept reading, Rex? Maybe. Like I said, this was just to celebrate getting 800 followers. But I do, like I said, I do read like visual novels and stuff, so I'm always open to recommendations. Yeah, I'll take another recommendation because it looks like she's sleeping, and it's like it seems weird to rate someone who's sleeping. Or no, wait. I think they woke up. Maybe. Hold on. It's like, hold on. The screen changed. Something's going on. I don't know. We'll just go. I'm not gonna think about it anymore. Maybe next time. Yeah, I don't know. All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for all the follows. Thanks for all the chatting. But yeah, you gotta remember to follow the rules. No being so silly. Like, we want the fun kind of silly, not the silly that makes you go, ew, gross. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was fun to review these again, even if they were cringe. So yeah. Thank you all so much for coming, and again, thanks for all the follows and raids and everything. Good night!